Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Yeah, this is it. Go! 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 Yeah, this is it. Go! Go! Let's go! This is it. Oh, 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 yeah, it's about to break. Got what it's gonna take. Go ahead and on that stage. Let's go. When you're made for this, yeah, it's obvious. Top another list. Let's go. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Yeah, this is it. Go! 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 Yeah, this is it. Go! Let's go! This is it. It's now or it's never. No plan with forever. It's now or it's never. Yeah. It's down to the wire. Who gon' take the empire? It's down to the wire. This is it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. This is it. This is it. Go! 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 Yeah, this is it. Go! Let's go! This is it. Go! Go! This is it. Go! Let's go! This is it. Gotcha! I'm both the devil and a saint. When money talks, I listen. Got no complaints, no. I'm a nice guy until I ain't. So come on and pay. Gotcha! La 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 la. La 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 la. Don't call me friend, don't call me foe. I'm the collector, taking what I'm owed. Not a big bad wolf knocking at your door. 'Cause I need more.
it big. I got my eyes on the prize. Oh my, gonna spin the wheel, cash it in and roll the dice. Oh my, it's a thing of gold. All I'll do is win, all I'll do is win. Oh my, no one ever fold. Start it up, let the game begin. Way up high and take it low. I'm feeling right from head to toe. Light it up and let it roll. Here I go. Are you ready? Ready to go? Are you ready? Ready for more? Are you ready? Ready for me? Oh my, are you ready? Ready or not, let's going. And I can't stop. Are you ready? Ready for me? Oh my, oh my. Are you ready? Are you ready? Ready for me? Are you ready? Are you ready? Ready for me? Are you ready? Are you ready? Ready to go? Are you ready? Ready for more? Are you ready? Ready for me? Oh my, are you ready? Ready or not, are we going? And I can't stop. Are you ready? Ready for me? Oh my, oh my. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Without any warning, we're sucking up the oxygen. The room is getting smaller. We always have it coming, like animals like to bite, tasting our disaster. 20-something seconds go on and on. 20-something seconds go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. I know we can do better. I'm not ready for darkness. If we promise to hold on and to never let go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. I'm ready to absorb you, feeding all your triggered lies. My ignorance defines you. The roof is gonna cave in, roaring with some dinosaurs, so caught up in the moment.
Yo!
Yo.
What's up, everyone?
I went way too early that time.
I was responding to the chat, Master C in the chat, and I was like, oh, wait, there's the handshake. Let me finish typing real quick. It's like, ooh, or the hand clap. I didn't expect it. It wasn't coming. Oh, welcome, everyone. Another Saturday here with Guy in a Cube. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm all right, man. What about you?
Living the dream.
I know,
You look like
I know.
allergies are getting to you.
A little bit.
So Patrick had a discovery recently that is bananas, and it's something that I've been kind of living my whole life, and Patrick just came to discover it. Would you care to share with everyone, Patrick?
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Why is it amazing, Patrick?
Yesterday. holy smokes, the graphics and the buttons. It's the combination of the graphics and the buttons. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing. We had an old Xbox One in the closet or something. I had to hook it up and I bought a game and I was like, oh man, this stuff is amazing. And then Adam gave me another revelation where I'm going to probably spend the rest of my weekend because I can play any game I want to play. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Alex. That's what I shared with him. He's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, no, man, you can download like any game on there. And he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, my weekend's destroyed.
I'm buying an Xbox One this weekend. I'm ordering it. Or the next one.
Xbox,
the
X,
it is.
Series X.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Patrick.
Yeah.
He's
so
like,
I don't know.
do you
We may not have
realize what I'm like, dude, I've been playing games since I was a kid, man. Of course I know.
You may not. You may
Like,
not
have you seen my setup?
You may not have any videos for a minute because I'll be playing some Xbox.
Yeah. All right. So, welcome everyone.
Yeah.
The whole theme of Guy in a Cube may change as a result of Patrick's, revelation.
It might.
He's going to do a Phil Seamark and start creating video games inside of Power BI. Oh my gosh. All right, Ben, thank you for becoming a member again, man. Welcome back. It's good to see you. And then Lisa also joined as a member as well during the countdown, so appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. If you're new to Guy in a Cube or live stream, just in general or whatever, first time here, go ahead and put hashtag new in the chat. We always love seeing the new faces. Great to see everyone. And Ben, like I said, yeah, good to see you again, man. Thank you. Also, big shout out to our members of Guy in a Cube. You help us do what we do here on Guy in a Cube, so thank you so much for that. If you see folks with the green name or the Guy in a Cube logo next to their name, those are members of Guy in a Cube, so we very much appreciate all the support you give us and are blown away every time that happens. And Chris, thank you for the super chat. 1 month Game Pass for Patrick. Enjoy. So Chris, so this is what I was explaining to Patrick. As a Microsoft employee, there's like a one-time free 12-month Game Pass thing that you just get as a Microsoft employee, and so he didn't realize that.
I appreciate it.
So he'll use that for month 13, is what that's for. So yes, we appreciate it. Thank you, Chris. So members, thank you so much. Also, stand by with your questions. Chatmaster C will give you the green light when the members can submit your questions. That'll be on the second half. So hang on with those. Questions. If you do have a question, please put Q: in front of the question. Chatmaster C is standing by to get them queued up. One time is all you need. We never get through all the questions, so if we don't get to your question this week, we apologize. Come back next week, and we'll try again. If you repeat your questions, we have a 3 strikes rule here on Guy in a Cube, and after the third time, you will be put in a timeout by either Chatmaster C or one of our lovely moderators. That includes Matthew Roach. And so moderators are the folks with the blue names or the wrench next to their name. They have the power to do that, except Patrick. Patrick doesn't do it, so you don't have to worry about Patrick. Let's see. And there was something else I was going to mention, but I don't remember what. What are you doing, Patrick?
Closing my door. I forgot to close my door.
That would have been good earlier, but okay. Thank you for doing that. All right. Are you ready for the questions, Patrick?
I am. Let's roll. Man, I'm still thinking about these video games. Stuff is amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't played video games since like the first PlayStation console, dude. There's a last time.
That is not true. You had a whole moment with your Switch for a little bit.
Oh, I did.
Don't you remember that?
And it's sitting right there.
I know. You got all excited about the Switch. You played it for like a weekend, and then you never touched it again.
Yeah. But the Switch doesn't have video games like this Xbox thing. Whew.
Yeah. Whew. All right. Here we go. Into the questions. Yeah, Patrick's gone. Sorry, everyone. Patrick got broke. Sorry. All right. Yes, Mr. Finland, you are a lovely moderator as well because you're bald. So we approve of that.
Chris.
All right. Let's see here. Matthew is actually starting us off with a question. How many new members of the Power BI Cat team are starting on Monday? And that would be 3. 3 new members to the Cat team on Monday. It's exciting. And then Pat Mahoney had put on Twitter that he's joining the Cat team, so that'll be in May. So counting down the days for him as well. And then, the Cat team is growing. It is amazing. For all those folks that don't know what we're talking about, the Power BI Cat team or the customer advisory team. So there's several folks at Microsoft that are part of this team, Matthew being one of them. Alex is one of them as well, that it's not about the sell. And then Patrick and I during our day jobs are part of that. So it's an exciting team to be on, dealing with lots of Power BI deep technical experiences and interactions with customers. It's great. So... and Paul asking if that should be a member question. Matthew's technically not a member, so it was fair game. So he was not breaking the rules, and he also asked Chatmaster C's permission. So all good. And Chatmaster C can override anything. So just so you know, that's how this works.
She's kind of the boss.
Yeah,
she's kind of the boss.
Yes. All right. Here we go. S has a question. S. How do I achieve left outer join in composite models? It's currently producing limited relationships, inner joins. Is this a limit currently in composite models? That's a good question. That's a Patrick question right there.
But the limit is the limited relationship, right? It's the limited relationship because I'm guessing it's 2 different sources that you're pulling your data from.
Well, if it's a limited relationship, that's absolutely what's happening.
Right. And so how can you can't, there's nothing you can do there with that limited relationship because it just doesn't know. And Adam, you did your video to dual or not to dual or something like that.
Yes.
And
when you're crossing those boundaries, you should
probably go take, you're crossing those boundaries. And so you should go take a look at that video. So you just cannot control it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
Nope. It's like Ghostbusters, right? You don't want to cross the streams.
Yeah, you cross those streams.
Yeah. That's why it's limited, right? Because it's not reflected in the source, and so we've got to be able to pass context somehow, and that's what ends up happening. Okay. Thank you, Chatmaster C. Let's go with Chris. Chris has a 2-part question here. Week of year on an x-axis where week of year crosses multiple years. Week of year. Okay, so it's could be like a 53-week calendar or something like that, where it's like right on the edge of like going in. The week could span December of 2020 going into January of 2021. If the visual is filtered by year 2021, week 52 appears at the end of the x-axis.
Okay.
I got it. So if week 52, so it's again that December of 2020 is bubbling up inside of 2021 when we select the year, right? And then part 2 of this is if the visual is filtered by the year 2022, week 52 still appears. Yeah, so it's crossing that. At the end of the x-axis. It should appear at the beginning of the x-axis to represent January 1st and the 2nd. So the problem is if you're doing this by week, if your calendar is going by week, it's going to include that full week. And so I'm assuming that you're doing some calculation that's going off of the week, which means that week 52 is inclusive of every day that's in week 52, right? Right?
Yeah.
And so if you want to do it by days only, and so you're only getting January, then you can't do it by week. Because if you're doing it by week, it's going to include week 52, right? And all the days inclusive of that. Yeah. So Charlie's saying like make the week the year plus the week instead of just a week. The challenge is though is now you're going to lose some days off of the, like if you're truly looking for the year, there are some days that are in that week. But the problem is you're going by week, and so you've got to make a choice there from a week perspective. Otherwise, you got to go at the day level.
All the way at the day level.
Right.
You got to go all the way down to the day level.
So you got to choose. Do you want to reflect it as a week value or as a day value? And then you'll get differences in those numbers representative of that.
Because if you want the accurate number, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, Avenger Nerd Dad is saying add a week num to the date table. I think they have that, and that's part of the problem is they're going off of that week, right? And so week 52 it crosses both years, and they're trying to filter by year or aggregate by year. But that's going to be the problem is if you're going off of week 52 is inclusive of those days, which span December of 2021 and January of 2022. And so there it is. And so if you only want the days from January, then go by day and year, not by, and don't worry about don't go off of week, right?
I could have swore the SQL BI guys put a article out on that.
Yeah. I'm sure there is. So, but yeah, that's just the challenge. If you're going off of weeks, it's like you got to deal with that. And Thomas, you're right. Yeah, the weeks don't necessarily roll up to the years automatically. It depends on how you're doing, especially like if you get into like a 53-week calendar, which a lot of retail customers do. So, yeah, exactly. So, yep.
Yeah, I think Susan, they have. You're right. In DAX.patterns, they have patterns for this in DAX.
Well, and also in Bravo, so like when you generate that calendar table, you can do it from a week perspective, right? So there's certain ISO weeks, so 445, 454, or if you're doing a 53-week calendar, like there's different patterns there. So, yeah.
The video you did with the date stuff on Bravo, very good video, my friend.
But again, from a calculation perspective, if you're going off of weeks, it's gonna span. It could.
Yeah.
So go off of days instead if that's what you're going after. All right. Ruta. Hope I'm saying that right. Part 1. In a line chart with markers, is it possible to show certain data points in different colors or shapes?
Oh, yes, you can. It's a trick, though.
Wait. There's a second part. Part 2 example. So date on the x-axis and results values on the y-axis. Result value can be detected or not detected. Detect and non-detect values are part of the same series. Want to show non-detect values in a different shape.
The shape.
The shape, I don't know. The color, though.
The color. I don't know if you can conditionally change the shape because the shape I think is a line chart thing. Yeah. But if you do your conditional colors on the bar chart and then switch it to a line chart, it holds the condition.
Yes.
Of the dots.
You did that. Did you do that video? I know you showed it to me.
I did two. Okay. I did 2 videos. I don't specifically do it, but I show it in 2 different videos. I don't know which ones. I don't know which videos it's in, but it's out there. And I show the switch. And so you create it as a bar chart, do the conditional formatting, then change it to a line chart, and then it'll hold the condition. The shapes, I don't know about the shapes.
Yeah, the shapes, I don't think you can.
Yeah.
So, yep.
I think Alex is saying Reed Havens. I don't know if you're talking about this, Alex, but if so, put the link. That'll be great.
Yep. And then Greg saying the Deneb custom visual can do that easily for different shapes as well. Yeah.
Somebody has a good series on that too. I think is it Laura Graham Brown? Somebody has a couple of really good intro. No, it's Charticulated. She does Charticulated. I don't know who does the NAB, but I was watching someone do some intro to the NAB video.
I think on Power BI Tips, they've got a couple where they worked with. I'm blanking on her name. There's a gal in Australia that did a lot of it. That's who I was watching. Am I blanking on her name?
I was reading.
So I feel so bad for blanking on her name.
But
Carrie.
She is good too.
Carrie.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Julian. Let's see here. How can I improve my dataset refresh to have more power on Power BI service or improve the refresh history to avoid long refresh time in large datasets? So before, it depends.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I got money.
Ooh, there's one. The other thing I will say, Optimize.
Optimize.
Would you like to go into further detail, Patrick?
Well, I mean, if it's an on-prem source, something that Adam and I saw, when you push it through the gateway, you can have a cluster. And the members in the gateway actually, I know, but I'm going somewhere else. Right? I'm going somewhere else. But you can also do things, optimize your database. That's the first thing, what Adam said. Optimize. Go make sure your queries are as fast as they can possibly be. But you can also do things in parallel. There's I forget the name of the property. When you script it out, max parallelism or something like that. I forget. I don't know. Degree, I don't know what it is. I forget. And you can do partitions on that big fact table. And you can run those partitions, more partitions in parallel. But I start by optimize and then, work up. We just help someone with this. I forget the customer we help. But partition those tables out and make things run parallel. It'll help speed it up. Should help speed it up. But your source will be the bottom. Max degree. There we go.
Yes.
Parallelograms.
That's where that's when you said that, I was like, what? But going back to my comment about it depends. So if you're hearing what Patrick and I are saying, but also if you're looking at the chat, there's all sorts of different comments in the chat. So like Alex threw out make sure query folding's happening. You see people talking about partitioning. You saw a comment from Chris Jones about like, hey, reduce granularity. Like these are all things that contribute to overall performance. And so when we have a general question of how do I improve performance, it's like, well, I need more details because that's a very broad thing, right? And we got to go look at where's the bottleneck. And so you got to go look at the model. You got to go look at your DAX. You got to go do those things. You can do a
composite model, put that big table in direct query mode, put AGS on top of it. You can do a hybrid table. You can do
those are all
3 million different things.
Those are all. So, but I'm even more like, go back to the basics, right?
Yeah.
Like, have we even looked at the model, like using things like Vertipack Analyzer and, looking at the BIM file inside a tabular editor, running best practice analyzer? Like, are we getting rid of the columns we don't need? Are we, are we thinking of things like the hierarchy and, all of that stuff? Like, there's so many things that we can do to look and explore and see where can we reduce the model. And then after that, if the model's like, all right, there's nothing more we can do to the model, then, okay, let's start going through the visuals and see how they perform. And, we've got a ton of videos on our channel that walk through that. I know folks at SQL BI, so Marco and Alberto, they've got a ton of stuff where they go through that. There's just a lot of things from the optimization. You got to do the work, right? So go look at the model and then start going through the visuals to find out what the DAX performance is. Maybe it's not even DAX. Maybe it's just you got too many visuals on there. So let's start working on that. There's videos that we've done too about like how do you even determine where the performance is from a refresh perspective? What are the things to go look at? And then using tools that like Phil Seamark did, visualize your refresh. So like those are all things that are there. And then Alex, thank you for throwing the guidance docs. I was going to mention that as well. There's a bunch of guidance in there about how to reduce your model size. Like look at a star schema, or did we actually model it effectively? Instead of one giant table with 800 columns. There's so much. There's so many stuff there. So
we got a whole hour session that we do on this.
Yes.
Keeping your data fresh. Keeping your data fresh.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So that is a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, Chris, that's real. 800 columns. No joke. All right. Next one. Here we go. Is there a way to use H3 mapping, Uber methodology, in Power BI? Or what's the best resource to learn about using maps?
That's all you, Adam.
So there's a lot of base mapping visuals that come with Power BI, and then there's some custom visuals as well. So I'm not familiar with like the H3 mapping specifically, but I will say the base visuals probably aren't going to let you do that. You're going to have to go look at custom visuals. So Alex called out icon map. So that's an option. There's also, Mapbox is a very popular custom visual where you can do different things. So you can explore that. So those are I would kind of point you both of those. Now, whether or not those can do what you're looking for in the H3 mapping, I have no idea. I just know mapping is somewhat limited in the base visuals. So, I mean, you can do some good mapping stuff, but when you get into those more complex scenarios on mapping, you got to look at the custom visuals and see if they can help you out there. The other thing to realize with custom visuals for mapping as well, so like Mapbox and things of that nature, you're gonna find that they're not certified, and this is because they have to process the map, and so they're having to send it out. It can't be done self-contained within the custom visual itself, so they have to process that, and they're gonna send like the location data to actually map it from that perspective. So be aware of that as well. Cool. All right. Mapping. Mapping. All right, Evan.
I don't think we have any videos on mapping. I don't think we have any.
I think I had one or two a while back, but
we could use paginated for that. You can use paginated.
I don't know if you can even do that. I don't even know if you can do that there. So I don't know what happened to your machine, man. It just went dark.
It went to sleep.
Okay.
It went to sleep.
Yeah. All right. So Evan, should I set all tables in my model to hybrid, or just the fact table? What's a good combination of hybrid, direct query, import, and dual in a model with slowly changing dimensions? It depends.
It depends. It depends. You got a lot going on there. And so what I recommend is if you're just starting to build that model and you think, at least today, right, and you think that model is going to grow, that model is going to grow, and you can't, there's some limitations. Maybe you're just using Pro, maybe you're just on a P1 or whatever it is. There's limitations there. Import everything. You could run up to some challenges, because if you put everything in import mode, and I don't disagree with Marco. I'm not disagreeing that you shouldn't import everything if you can. Not disagreeing with Marco. That's not what I'm doing. I would never disagree with Marco. But if you think you're going to reach those tipping points where you need to switch over to direct query, then you're in trouble at that point, because you can't go from import to direct query. Which means you'll have to redo everything. And so if you're looking for some real-time action from your fact tables, you look at the hybrid method. It's not GA yet, but hybrid does give you the flexibility to kind of break them into partitions, and so you could cache up a large chunk of that data, which could help streamline your refreshes, and then go direct query for a smaller chunk of your data, so you can get that data in real time. So something like that, but it really depends on the volume, the shape of the model. So,
well, I mean, the whole point of where hybrid tables becomes an interesting feature is actually in Evan's scenario, where it's like, look, I need up to the date, like what's in the data source, and that's the whole point, right? Is so that most recent partition is going to be going and grabbing the latest data from the source, whereas the previous items are imported, right, from those partitions. So going back to his original question of like, well, should we do hybrid tables on the dimensions as well?
Just set those to dual.
That wouldn't.
Set those to dual.
So, but there's a couple things to consider too. Is when you do incremental. So, would you do incremental refresh on a dimension?
It depends. God dang it. It depends. I'm gonna give two. It depends on this one, because this is a different question on the dimension. I mean, if we're working with a very large dimension, like some retailers could have huge dimensions, and a lot of times the data in those dimensions don't change, but they add. And trying to refresh a very large dimension, that could take some time. And so if I put incremental refresh on it, then I'm just popping in the new data or the changes to the new data, which will streamline my refresh.
I was waiting for Ben's comment.
What did he say? Yeah, exactly. So if your dimension is that big, maybe
when slowly changing dimensions as well, right? So those are
I
I don't know if Chatmaster sees threw something at me. But, I heard
but
something.
look at his comment. His dims are less than 500 rows.
Well, but it's a slowly
dual mode.
changing dimension too, so you're gonna have history in there.
Yeah, but if they're
But
what's the
500
rate of
rows
growth?
is I don't care about 500 rows.
So
Import
this is
that.
something you need to think about: is how fast those are going to grow. People never think about this when they're building their data models. They go, it's only 100,000 rows today, but the rate of growth of that data is insane. You know, in a month. Now we have 1 million rows. In a year, we have 52 million rows, you know? And you have to be really careful and think about, you want to future-proof your model. And these are the things you got to think about when you build your model. A lot of people don't think about those things.
Yeah.
What's going on with you and Chatmaster C over
I don't know.
there?
I heard something, and I saw her arm move, and I don't know if she threw something at me or not. I don't know. Yeah, it happens. But the other thing too is the other thing to consider about your dimensions as well. If they're imported only, and now you're introducing this direct query aspect from your fact table with hybrid tables, you could get into like the integrity issue where maybe the fact table is referencing another item in your dimension that you haven't imported yet in your dimension, and so now it's like, what?
Oh, just nothing.
Okay.
Keep going.
But right.
Something threw me off.
Like,
Something threw me off in the chat.
Do you agree? That,
Yes, Alex saw it too. Alex saw it too.
what?
Keep going. Just keep going.
I missed
Just keep
something.
Going. Yeah, you did. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. My gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. Did you throw something again? Oh.
No, keep going. Just
Okay.
keep going.
Well, she pointed at me.
Kevin saw it too.
Okay. All right.
Kevin
All
saw
right.
it.
She told me. Chatmaster C told me on Teams. So Patrick, my point was, and this is where you would chime in too, of if the fact table now on the direct query partition for the hybrid table, if that's referencing a dimension item that you haven't imported yet, now you got a referential integrity issue. Right?
You have a referential integrity.
So you got to make sure that dimension's updated. Hopefully, right, your dimension's not changing that rapidly, but you do have a potential of that in that given scenario.
Well, you got later. So if you got late arriving dimension, if you got late arriving dimension values, you need to structure that model properly. Either in my dimension, I'm gonna have this unknown row, and so when I do my data warehouse load, I'm assigning to that unknown row, like a -1 or something like that. And then you have a process as part of your ETL that's checking for those unknown rows on a nightly basis, or however often you load it, and then you can fix them up with those late arriving values in those dimensions. There's so many, so many things that you need to think about here, Evan. But dual mode those little 500 row dimensions if you're going to go any type of hybrid or direct query on your fact table.
I would absolutely do that.
Yeah.
All right. Whew. All right.
Yep.
Are you okay? I went back and looked. I saw it. All right.
You just saw it.
I did.
Saw it. That threw me for a loop. I'm sorry.
Inferred
members, yes, Thomas. That's the technical term in Kimball. I call inferred members. That is it. Yeah.
All right.
Just go.
Egbert, data mesh, ignore or explore? I feel like I should know what data mesh is.
Is that like, I don't know what data mesh is.
Data mesh. I mean, I've heard that in terms of like other, like as a joking term, but I feel like you're actually referring to an actual feature or product.
Data mesh, total deploy twin. Nope, that's not that.
So I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, wow, we're already at the member side. Whew.
I don't know.
I don't know. Heidi's saying explore, so I'm going to go with Heidi. You should explore.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this. Thank you. So data mesh is a new approach based on a modern distributed architecture for analytical data management. I would definitely look into it.
I have to learn about.
Yeah.
I'm going to explore it.
Yeah.
I'm going to
And then
explore
Alex
it.
put a link to reference architecture for data mesh. Nice. Yeah, learned something new.
I'm going to open this up.
I'm going to go explore it because I want to know about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And Chris is saying that Power BI has a great data mesh architecture. All right. All right. All right. We are at the halfway mark. That went fast.
Well, sorry that
So, members, go ahead and get your questions in. Chatmaster C has cleared the queue for you. For everyone else, apologies we didn't get to your questions. Like I said, we never get to all of it. So come back next week and we'll do more. For members, we're going to kick over. Some members and moderators will be able to participate in the chat. Non-members will not, but you'll still be able to watch the chat and whatnot, and get all the great learnings that come. Andy, thank you for becoming a member. Much appreciated. Also,
Kevin.
What did Kevin say?
Didn't get to the most important.
Sorry, Kevin. Like the time ran out. I don't know. Super chats always take priority. So if you do a super chat, make sure you type in the question, and those will always take priority. So let's go ahead and kick it over to member only chat. This is an example of something that Patrick has no idea how I do this. And so if he ever had to do this on his own, he'd be like, what the heck? Oh my gosh, Wyatt. All right. So let's go. So I'll grab Wyatt's question because it's a super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Also, John, thank you for becoming a member. Much appreciated. Ordering a large pineapple pizza so the crew can appreciate it. That's a hard no. Why would you put pineapple on a pizza?
I thought you just put meat and maybe onions.
So my pizza, my favorite pizza.
Oh, I know your pizza. I know it.
Well, you know it's New York, but you don't know what toppings I do. So
no, we had it here in my basement.
What is it? What is it?
No, go for it.
So I get the SOB pizza. Sausage, onion, and bacon. Bam.
Sausage, onion, and bacon.
SOB.
I just said, and a little onion on the pizza.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. It's
All
great.
right.
It's delicious.
Right. Thank you, Wyatt, though, for the super chat. Much appreciated. So, and I did see the Marco was engaging in pineapple chat earlier with Matthew and Miss Belinda. So, yes. Oh, anchovies. No, that's a hard no. No. All right. So one of the benefits of being a member at the visitor or producer tier is that you can pre-submit questions, and we do have some questions that were pre-submitted. So let's get into those first, and then we'll jump over to the queue. Let me get rid of Wyatt's thing there.
Shoot.
Yeah, you got that other one.
Okay.
You forgot.
Yeah.
All right. First question is from Yi. So my goal in a matrix chart using parent-child hierarchy as row header is to only show rows that start at a specific level, and the levels under this level are not above this level, but not above this level. For example, if a manager is level 4, then start from level 4 and not showing level 1, 2, or 3. So let me go over to my computer. Let's get this. Yes. All right. And we will show. All right, so what I've got here is I've got a single table here that's just doing a parent-child hierarchy. The thing that I'm doing here is I'm actually splitting out like the levels, so I actually have them in the table, right? So I'm not. I also have this path column, so you could do this approach, but I'll actually. So I did a video on like hierarchy and performance with RLS. When you get to large numbers of cardinality, in this case, this has 1 million rows, and I don't actually consider that large. But if you try and do a path contains over that many values, then it's like going to be slow because it's doing like string manipulation and it's not fast. And so keeping it simple, I just break it out. So I'm just doing integer validation and it works like a champ. And it's way faster. Now, what I've got here is you'll see like the different items. And so I'm going to focus in on this item 215. And so what I want to do is show everything below 215, but not stuff that's up above here. So you can see these numbers and the the values that are there. So like I can expand 11 right now because I'm not doing anything. The way that I'm handling this is through row level security. So if I go to my manage roles, you'll see I've got two options. One is doing path contains. The other option is I'm just doing a compare on these items, right? So I'm just doing a simple, like, is this value in there? And so in this case, I'm going to do it with dynamic row level security. So user principal name. And so let's do 215. I'm going to do view as role. I'm going to do option 2, which is the faster option. And I'm going to say 215. Hit OK. Now what happens here is that it's actually, you can see I see everything for 215. I still have item 1 and item 15 because they're part of that hierarchy, but the values are only representative of what's in 215. So I can't see anything else above 215, and it's not going to calculate from that perspective. There are ways to handle that, which Patrick's actually going to get into in the next member question. But so Yi, the thing I didn't know from your question perspective is from a data perspective, you're not seeing anything above your level. And so that's good. Now, the reason I see item 1 and item 15 is because from a visual perspective, I'm actually showing that hierarchy. And so I'd have to remove these in order to not see item 1 and item 15. So I can't necessarily control that per se. But from a data perspective, this is, it's not doing that. And so you may ask, like, well, how did you do that? How are you not seeing the other items? And the magic here is that, let me go ahead and show, where is view hidden? In this case, and this is probably like not the greatest, but I'm going to show it anyway. In this case, it's basically using is in scope. And so is in scope is a way that you can control like whether we're going to see that from a visual perspective. And that's kind of where the magic is. And then from this, I'm actually showing those items and going from that standpoint. So the other thing is there's a DAX patterns item about hierarchies, and this actually goes into, detecting the current level and talking about how you can use is in scope. So go definitely check that out as well. But that's how we can control from RLS to control what data is actually available, and then using is in scope to control like, hey, how are we actually going to display this in the visual and remove those items that just have blank values, right? I don't want to show that. So Yi, hopefully that answers your question. What do you think, Patrick?
Oh, yeah. You had to explain it to me this morning.
All right, so Yi said that, yes, I got that. I got the step. Okay, cool. So I don't know where the breakdown is. I don't know what we're missing then. Okay. So Yi, maybe we'll take that offline, and so I can get more information to understand what your requirements are, because based on what you wrote, I'm doing that. So I don't know what I'm missing. So we'll follow up. Oh yeah. So to remove the above labels, like I said, those are part of the hierarchy. And so I have to remove that from the visual definition to get rid of those. There's no other way to do it. So they can't be defined if I'm defining it in the visual, I don't know how to get rid of that. There's not a programmatic way to do that. So that's going to be a challenge. So cool. All right. All right, Patrick, you ready for the next one? This one's all you.
All right.
All right. Jeremy, is there a way to either use RLS to filter sensitive detail records from the table visual out while still being able to calculate summary stats on the exact same table based on the logged in user, of course? I need to filter out sensitive detail records from table visualization, but on the same page, the same table shows summary stats and counts. This has to work for non-senior leadership users.
This was an easy one because I didn't have to do anything, because Marco wrote a blog post, an article on this back in 2020. And I actually built this out and showed this to someone back in 2020. And so I already had the PBIX file, and just head to my machine. I'll show you if you want to head to my laptop. Yeah. And so here's the article. Marco wrote this a while ago. Well, he updated it. I don't know when it was. Oh, yeah. I don't know when it was originally created, when he originally wrote this article, but I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, I'll get in the chat in a little bit. And so
Alex will.
In the article, if you walk through the article, it explains it in detail. And so I just kind of went through and simulated what he did. But the goal is, let's say, I only am supposed to see Pacific, the information from the Pacific continent. So when I sign in, that RLS will kick in. But when RLS kicks in, I still want to see the totals. I want to see all those totals. Probably more importantly, I want to see what percentage of my sales are of that total. How would I do that unless I have access to the total? And so you would create a summary table, and this is just what the article does. So you create this summary table that's you're going to use for your internal calculations, and those internal calculations, you'll see how I use those in a measure in a little bit. And then when I actually create my measures here, you'll see here they go. When I create some measures, that was it. When I create some measures, I check to see if I'm cross filtering on a particular table, right? And so for me, it's where the RLS is kicking in. And then you create these rows here. You can see my rows where I'm just putting, Europe, and then I filter it by that continent, and I add those people to those rows. Once I add them to those rows and I go, if you pay attention to these totals, if you pay attention to the totals, when I go view as specific, because that would be the role I'm in, you'll see that I'm only seeing my detailed information for those countries in the specific, but the actual total itself is persistent. It's because the total is not being cross-filtered at that level. And then I have this summary table, and now you can see I have the entire, there's no security on that summary table, so I'm still seeing the totals.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
The article does a really good job
Yeah.
of explaining it.
Yeah, and that comes up every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say every 6 months, like we see that question come across in one form or another. So yeah, good deal. All right, last one from Adam. I like that name. Could you recommend some good resources on the data visualization aspect of report creation? Though I love pie charts and the matrix visual, sometimes I feel that the storytelling piece is lacking, especially if there's no specific demand from the client side. That is a great question. So one thing I'm going to point you to, let me go, let's do this real quick. I should have had this ready. So I'm going to put chat to go to the learn content, and then Alex, you beat me to it. I already had that one up on my machine. So the link that Alex put in the chat too, design effective reports. So if you go to the learn link that I put in, the first one in the upper left-hand corner is this design effective reports in Power BI. If we explore that collection, you'll see all these different items. And this basically walks through like how you should structure your reports and how to do things from like colors and all of that kind of stuff. So like structuring analytical items, and you can see the different things, designing the layout, producing guided analytical experience. So this walks you through the requirements piece of it as well as the actual implementation. And this was done by Chris Hamill and Miguel Myers on the Power BI CAT team. Miguel Myers is an artist when it comes to report design. He like the things he makes just blows everyone's mind. And so this is basically a brain dump of like how he actually goes about doing this and coming up with an effective design. And so that would be, I would say, go there first, learn that. Past that, there's a lot of resources that are out there, books and other things around storytelling with data and just like report designs in general. It's not specific to Power BI, but Stephen Few is like one of those guys that has a lot of great content out there. Alberto Cairo is another one that does a lot of stuff on that aspect. Again, it's not specific to Power BI. It's just about working with data and how do you tell that story and visualize those things. So definitely go look at those as well. But by all means, first go check that learn content on designing effective reports. It is amazing. So that would be the first stop.
Yeah.
All right. Those are all the pre-submitted ones.
I like it.
All right. Into the queue, Mr. Paul, starting us off. Can you set up a Power BI table partition using a date logged field and then use a date modified field to implement incremental refresh that replaces the modified records, not just add new ones?
So you can't have the date modified as the field to do the incremental refresh. And the reason you can't, because it's going to partition the data based on that. Okay. And then you need two columns. You would use the date log field for your partitioning to set up the incremental refresh. And then you can use the date modified with detect data changes so that it will refresh those partitions that have changed, where you have changes in the data. Now, the challenge you're going to run to is with deletes, because because if you delete a row, Power BI does not know that anything was modified in that partition. So the way the detect data changes works is when you do your refresh, it says, hey, here's the maximum date for that date modified for each partition. Every subsequent refresh is going to grab your date and compare it to date modified. And if your date isn't greater, it's not going to refresh that partition. So if you delete the row, it's nothing there to compare against. And so you'll need to come up with like a configuration table. And I did this in a video. I was trying to find the link when I saw this question come through, but I'm not fast enough for that and they answer the question. So, but there's a way to do it. You just got to be, you're going to have to do, it's a special case if you're trying to handle deletes. And so we have a video that'll show you how to do it. I'll go find the video and put it in the chat. Or maybe Alex will find the video and put it in the chat. Yep.
Yeah, when you came up with that way to handle the deletes, that was magical.
Yeah.
Paul said he's seen that one, so thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Mr. Paul Turley.
If I'm missing something, Paul, put it in the comments.
Paul Cooper.
Paul Cooper. Paul Turley. Paul Cooper. Yeah.
Okay. This is another Paul Turley.
Yeah, I know this Paul.
Yeah, I know. We know this Paul. All right, it's a two-parter. So I'm getting ready to put our first composite model using direct query with a published data set into production. Customers already want to build another composite model over this data set. That's what they all want to do, right? Thinking we should walk before we run. What are your thoughts and experiences? Of course, there are dependencies, but a composite is too much while the feature is in preview. Or is it? He's questioning that. So I'm going to go back to the video I did on the dual versus import. And some of the challenge there is going to be represented when you do this composite and composite. So like the direct query over Power BI data sets. And this comes into those limited relationships, right? So it has to represent that values across. And the more you do that, you're compounding performance. And so performance is obviously the big thing. You look like you want to say something, Patrick. Oh, okay. And so you've got to be careful about what you're joining against and what you're actually doing. So, right, the big from what I've heard, the ultimate, like what people want, like the magical thing is like this kind of universe concept, right? Where I've got all these little islands and I just want to bring them in together and just be able to do everything across those little islands, right? And make relationships and slice and dice across and just have it all great. And so the challenge there though is going to be like, how are those items represented across those islands? And like, do we have a dimension? And then which dimension? So like, say if we have a calendar table, and this was kind of the argument we had last week, Patrick, or not argument, but discussion we had last week of like, how do you, like, if you've represented dimensions in both of those islands, like, how do you, like, which one do you use? And then we get performance as a result of it. And so we've got to potentially, if we're crossing those boundaries, you've got to, and the table in model A doesn't exist in model B, you've got to represent those values in that relationship. And so that's going to be heavy and you're going to pay a price. And so those are things that you've got to consider when doing that. So, yeah. I don't know if that helps, Paul. Hopefully it does. All right. Let's go with Daff. Yo dudes, theory question. Why can I use a variable as a filter in a calculation when it's a measure, but not an actual measure?
I don't know what that means.
Why can I use a variable as a filter in a calculation when it's a measure, but not as an actual measure? I can use variables in a measure. I don't know what that means.
Are they trying to return the filter as a result in a measure? Because that would be a table in most cases, unless you're returning the Boolean value in the filter. And you can't return a table in a measure, but I'm not quite sure what they mean. I don't know. What this
I don't
question-
understand this question.
Jeff, I don't know what you mean.
Why can I use a variable as a filter in
Does
a
he mean
calc when
can't,
it's...
but not?
Well, still, I don't... so why can't I use a variable as a filter in a calculation when it's a measure? But it's not an actual measure. I still don't understand. Yeah, I need more info on that. That doesn't make sense.
Please. Yeah,
I'm not following that.
please more
I'm
info.
sorry, Def. Yeah, we need more info on that. Sorry, man. All right. Let's go on to Chris. So, Daf, if you can get more information, and we'll go with that. Hang on, Marco understood, maybe. So he said the question is about using variable and measure in a filter argument of calculate. You can't do that though, right? Yeah. So Patrick's going to try. So so the way I'm reading that, Marco, is like you're trying to use the variable in the actual calculate syntax with a measure, and like that's gonna present problems. Maybe I'd have to try it. I think Patrick's playing around with it. So yeah.
Did not know
A
this.
measure is not. Thank you, Pop Eater. A measure is not. Yes. And then Marcos said because a variable is a constant value,
it
right?
does, he's right. I mean, of course, of course.
Whereas a measure is a
Static,
dynamic
yeah.
expression not accepted in filter arguments because of context range. Oh no, that makes sense. Yes. Yeah. So when you stick it in the variable, it becomes the constant at that point. So it's not. Yes, got it. Bam.
Huh? Okay then.
There we go.
I'll be doggone.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you're stuffing the measure in the variable and then use the variable in the filter, like that works.
Don't work.
Because it doesn't work.
Oh, my expression's wrong. Hang on.
Here, I'm
Keep
going
going.
over to your machine.
Don't-
I'm going
maybe
over to
don't
your
mind.
machine. I'm
No,
going
no,
over to
no,
your machine.
Don't go to my machine. Don't go to my machine. Don't go to my machine. Please don't go to my machine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Yay. All right, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris has a question here. Analytics forecasts on a line chart visual works in desktop, not in the service. Am I doing something wrong, or does that just not work? So he's talking about on the analytics tab for a
Yeah.
given visual, you can do the
Yeah.
forecasting.
Yeah.
It's working in desktop, and when you publish to the service, it doesn't work. It's interesting.
is
Might have
very
to
interesting.
try it. Is it potential that like maybe the data is different, and did that change something? I'd have to. Chris is asking what browser. I don't know why the browser would necessarily make a difference. It's possible there's some thing that went into the service that caused it not to work as well. So it could be a product issue. It could be something. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so Kevin's saying it works in his Guy in a Cube report for the things. Yeah, I've always seen it there. So it's got to be something with the report itself and how it's defined. And then maybe validate that or try it with a clean visual as well and see if like that makes a difference. So maybe there's some formatting things that are going on, or maybe it's based on the data that you have that's causing it to not work. Oh, good Lord. What are you doing, Patrick?
Hey, it's not working.
What's not working?
When I put the forecast on, I get an error. Can't display this visual.
Oh, so Chris, were you getting an error, or was it just not displaying the forecast piece? Okay, Chris said it works for someone, so it's good enough for him, and he can go figure it out. Okay.
Okay.
Patrick's getting an error because Patrick doesn't know how to create visuals. I think that's what that is.
That's a true statement. That's a true statement.
Oh, no, Chris said, yeah, he got an
No,
error too.
I'm telling you, it says analytics feature aren't available for this visual, but in the desktop, it works.
What's
I'm
the
looking at it.
chart type?
I'm looking at it.
What's the chart type?
Go to my screen. Now go to my screen. Let me show you. All right. So you can see right here,
What's the chart type?
and I just turned Just turn forecast on. It's
What's
a line.
the chart type? Just a line chart.
It's just a line graph. So this guy right here, a line chart.
See, I told you.
And then I went to the service. I just published it. I didn't do anything, right?
Well, so Kevin, what visual are you using in your report? Because I know that you have it working in that Gyne-Cube report. So what's different? Something's different. Something's different. Something's different. Can you try the other visual types? So like maybe the like the bar end line, or maybe that.
Okay, hang on one second. I want to try one more thing. All
right, what'd you do?
I switched to, see that little guy right there?
Yeah. So that's PPU.
See that, right?
Yeah.
It's PPU. And then I go to my workspace.
What? You saying it only works in PPU?
Workspace anymore. It looks looking like it is. So I go to this one.
Premium only?
What was the name of that thing?
Kevin's not doing premium.
Here he goes. Look.
Oh, Kevin says his isn't working now either. Wow, maybe something changed. Yeah, that's what I'm like. Forecast isn't a premium feature. That doesn't make sense.
Laura said I broke it. I didn't break it, Laura. Why did I break it? I don't know. It works in PPU, but it doesn't work.
All right. Well, yes. Follow up to come. That doesn't make sense that that's a premium only thing. I think something broke.
Yeah.
So there was probably something that, yeah, Matthew, same thing. Yeah. You, Alex, myself, Patrick, we're all going like, wait, that's a premium feature? That's not a premium feature.
Well, I mean, you see it, right?
Yeah, and Kevin's saying that on his it's broke now too. He's getting the error as well.
Okay.
So something changed.
Yeah.
There was a deployment, something changed, and so there will be follow up on this. So yes. Whew, that's weird. Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Let's see how we're doing on time. Cool. All right, John. Is there a way to apply a different theme JSON using the Power BI APIs when cloning a report from one workspace to another? Negative. I'm not aware of any. Nope. No APIs to change the theme itself. So you've got to do that within the report. And there's no APIs to actually like do report creation type things and doing that. So yeah. Yep. No go on that. All right. Another question. Let's see here. So is Power BI efficient at collecting data from RESTful APIs, so REST APIs? The collector is getting data several times during a day. I was considering building a custom connector, but unsure of limitations. And Patrick's ready with the it depends.
How performant is the REST API?
Yeah. Well, and also, what's that REST API doing? So there was some thread. I don't remember if this was Twitter or over email or something, but someone was talking about like the SharePoint list and like it's causing problems and like all this other stuff. And it was like, well, okay, like is the SharePoint list, is it maintaining, like does it actually allow you to fold, or is it grabbing like all the values all the time, right? And so what is it? What does that API support? How are we actually doing folding? Generally, whenever someone says they're going directly against an API, I immediately think it's going to perform awful. And so you got to be mindful of that. Custom connectors may help, but you still have that, what Patrick said, the ultimate thing is like, does that API even perform? Like that could be a problem. And so a lot of times I see people like using some sort of ETL process to capture that API data and stuff it into like a relational database like SQL Server or something like that, and then do your reporting off of the SQL Server. It's going to be much more performant. So, so those are options for you. So technically, yes, you can go get data off of an API, but massive it depends.
And if you're not trying to get real time data and you're okay with refreshing, and if you can get your refresh working where it's pulling it into the cache,
yeah.
Who cares? You know.
The other thing you have to consider too is, are there limits on the API, like how many times you can call that API, and so that may impact as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And David saying that they hit the Power BI REST API to get the activity data and it's fine. I'm like, yeah, it technically should work. But there's a lot of caveats there, and performance is always going to be the biggest factor. And so there's a lot of things to consider.
Heidi just posted a really good one. Test it.
I like, yeah, yes.
Yeah, test the performance of it.
Yep.
Which
also brings up, which also brings up like a lot of people like the try now or the try it button in the reference documentation to try an API.
Yeah.
And that went away. It's coming back, so just be aware of that.
Okay.
There was some back end maintenance that was going on, and once that's done, the try it thing will come back in the reference. Yeah. And then Alex also commented, calling REST APIs in Power Query is cool for prototyping, but stop after that. There you go.
Okay,
all right.
Alex.
All right, we're saying we want to do one more? One more? Oh, we're over.
Yeah, one more.
All right. Let's go with Ben. All right, Ben, you've been missed, sir. What's the largest number of Power BI peeps you've seen inside a finance biz department at your enterprise customers? Do you see this trend growing, shrinking? Is there any public benchmarking available? I'm not aware of any public benchmark available. I mean, inside a finance department. So also, I'm gonna make some assumptions here on Ben's question, meaning like folks specifically using Power BI and working on the enterprise reports. Typically, those groups, it's a small number of people working on all that stuff.
But if we talk about consuming, are we just talking about authors? Are we talking about consumers, or what persona?
I'm interpreting that as creation, not consumption.
Yeah,
that's how I'm assuming that question is. Part of this is I know Ben, I know where he's coming from, so I'm reading into this a little bit. And so from the creation aspect, usually it's not many people. From a consumption perspective, obviously it should be a lot. Right, and you'll see growth within your organization, assuming your reports actually have value, and they're actually answering questions needed. But the creation of it, it's not usually not a lot of folks. And this is part of the thing I love about Power BI is that you don't necessarily need an army of people to do that.
No.
It also depends how your organization is structured in terms of, are you talking about just the report creation, or are you talking about like, I've got to do all the ETL and data warehousing and all that stuff behind it? In those enterprise customers, usually that's potentially a separate group. And so they're doing their thing, but the folks like in the finance department are just like creating the report and maybe doing some specific business things, maybe using things like data flows and to get what they need. That one definitely, Patrick, that's going to be an it depends also.
Yeah, that'll be it depends. Yes.
I don't know if that answered it for you, Ben.
I got to go get more ones.
Yeah, you do. All right. So we went over. Thank you, everyone, for we didn't get to all the questions in the queue. We also missed out on Alex's question, which I know. Yes. Sorry, Alex. Yeah, you did. All right. But thank you, everyone, for being here. Patrick, any closing words of wisdom?
No. Stay in the house when pollen is.
What video game are you going to be going after?
Oh, well, I'm going to go get this thing, the live. I don't know what video. I got endless possibilities of video games. I just found out this morning. I'm going to go get the subscription. Who knows where I'm going to go? There were so many great suggestions in the chat. Witcher and Killer Instinct.
Witcher's
There's a lot, man. I got to go.
Well, everyone's playing Elden Ring right now, too, but I don't think that's on the Microsoft Store. Or from a Game Pass perspective, I don't know if Elden Ring's in there, but that's the big one right now. Elden Ring. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. Love y'all, and we will see you next week. Have a happy Easter for those celebrating, have a great next week.